if I could use one word to describe us, is that we're curious. So we get to know every business and consumer that chooses to bank with us. And by being curious about them and where they are on their financial journey, what milestones are coming up, it allows us to break into generational turnover.
Today, we're talking strategy and growth with Kathy Jumper, President and CEO of Orange County's Credit Union. We discuss their positioning as a community FI in the middle of one of the largest metro economies in the world, the interesting way that digital plays in their growth plans, and how her professional background across the spectrum of small community banks, large institutions, and credit unions help her as the organization's leader and public face. Enjoy the episode. Kathy, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Reg. Thank you for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
So probably the place to start is, why don't you tell us a little bit about the credit union, where it is? I know we're going to talk about expansion, which is probably a pretty big topic for you, but a little bit about the history, because you're kind of in a unique part of the country from managing financial institutions. So why don't we start there?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a California-based credit union during this time is always interesting. Orange County's credit union is a Santa Ana-based financial services provider. We have 135,000 members with just over $2.6 billion in assets. Something that sets us apart is we are a certified community development financial institution, so CDFI certified. And with that, we really have a mission to support the challenges faced by low-income families and communities, along with, of course, offering a broad spectrum of financial services to the community, including our business owners. We are focusing on that small to medium-sized business owner. We're a preferred SBA lender. So we offer membership to anyone who lives in 4 counties: Orange, Los Angeles, Riverside, and San Bernardino. Plus, anyone across the country can join us at no cost through our community impact fund.
One other thing that I think I saw on your website is you also do commercial real estate funding too, right? As well. That's an interesting play for credit unions. It's not common. We'll see how common it is, but how is that bid? And certainly, like, what's your take on the current market? All real estate being local,
Yeah, real estate, you really have to slice differently. So whether you're talking about office real estate or retail, we think it's very favorable in the market that we serve. I think the large regional banks have left this space and they're focusing on the bigger commercial. And so to serve the needs of the community, they really need someone like Orange County's credit union to help serve them.
So are you generally working with local developers and investors from that standpoint, like kind of fitting in the rest of your kind of small business opportunity?
Absolutely, we do. We have a group of business developers that go out and knock on doors too. So we know where we play, and we actively go out and ask for that business and share the value proposition of being with Orange County Credit Union, and have found it very favorable. There's a variety of needs that business owner needs today, whether it be in the lending space or the operational, or just the ability to manage their business. And when you think about credit unions and what we offer, the traditional credit union model is we bring in deposits, we lend them out, and there's a yield. Today, the credit union and I think financial services space is much more diverse than that. They need many suites of services, the ability to do payroll, merchant services, movement of money, real-time movement of money are all areas that we're interested in.
So one of the things that we were talking ahead of time was about your strategy for differentiation, because you're in one of the 2 biggest metros in the US, in like the biggest economy in the country. How are you able to stand out, particularly with like your relatively recent expansion outside of Orange County?
Yeah, I think our greatest strength is, and you said it earlier, maybe a number of credit unions aren't playing in the commercial lending space, for instance. But our greatest strength lies in our ability to deliver the same comprehensive services as a national financial institution would, while still offering competitive rates and that credit union unparalleled personalized service. One word that I often like to use here at the credit union is, if I could use one word to describe us, is that we're curious. So we get to know every business and consumer that chooses to bank with us. And by being curious about them and where they are on their financial journey, what milestones are coming up, it allows us to break into generational turnover. It allows us to understand where they're going and kind of walk that financial journey with them. So being curious and knowing our membership and our community is what allows us to stay differentiated and connected to growth.
So what have been the challenges with that as you've kind of grown your addressable footprint where your charter is? Because you started off with Orange County, and you're I think you're about an 85-year-old institution,
We
correct?
are
Okay,
85
and
years.
and so Orange County, 3-4 million population, and then you've kind of branched out into Los Angeles County, which I think is a little more than 10, and then probably another 10 between San Bernardino and Riverside. So almost an order of magnitude bigger footprint. How have you managed that? Has that been, physical branch expansions? Is it more on the digital side? Like what has been effective at making this big jump? And I think one of the things, I think you're about 5 years into this, right? From
Yes.
an expansion span. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's both from a digital presence and a branch presence. Digital being where we're putting most of our investment. We recently expanded our FOM to give us a nationwide FOM. So we're going to continue to grow up that digital presence and expect 30% of our growth to come from that. And people do find us, and it's interesting what you can do with having some sophistication around your search engine optimization and other digital plays that you can really reach your base to. I'm sure you've done a number of podcasts and talked to enough people that, you know, that's still a barrier of entrance for a lot of consumers and businesses. We still get the question, oh, I thought you had to be part of a union to join. I thought you had to be this to join. And really, a lot of those restrictions are very limited today. They just don't exist. But because of the name credit union, and part of what we're doing is educating them that they can bank with us, that we can compete with a national financial institution from a technology perspective, a service perspective, and then just bringing through the way that we care about our members, the way that we care about where their milestones are.
So interesting. You said 30% of your growth plan is expected to come from just like straight digital, like never going to set a foot inside a branch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you probably see the numbers that's happening in the bank fintech space and how it's growing. And those are triple digit numbers, but it's a small percentage of the overall whole today. But most of the large regionals are playing with that digital banking space, whether it be a separate name or a component of them. But it's so easy on your phone today. Our process that we're rolling out the end of this month is going to be a 3-step process to open an account with us. So you can live nationwide. You can open your account quickly. We don't need you to re-enter duplicate information, ask you the question 3 times, give you a pause period. We're able to bring you into the credit union and fold you in quickly, membertize you quickly. And that's something that's going to do the credit union, Orange County Credit Union, legacy foundation and moving us forward.
That's a nationwide number, or that's digital that don't have access to a branch because they're not in Southern California.
You hit it. Digital that doesn't have access to a branch. And they could still be in our backyard. They're going to choose to do it. Could be someone who's a mile from a branch, but they're choosing to do their business digitally. And that's how I opened my account when I was moving here, but I still didn't walk into a branch to open my Orange County Credit Union account. I did it all online when I was on the East Coast, and then also when I moved here, I was less than a mile from a branch. I still didn't walk into the branch. I did my transactions digitally.
So let's talk about that. You've been in the role here as president and CEO for just over or right at about a year, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, before this, you have a very interesting background between little bank, big bank, other credit union. Wait, just tell us a little bit about that and maybe your perspective on. I mean, we know which ones are going to be your favorite, but from a different type of approach, thinking of it from a strategy and leadership standpoint, how has that experience kind of informed what you're doing today and been useful?
Yeah. Yeah. So early on in my career, I had great mentors and I had sponsors around the table that put me in new situations, brought me around the table. And Rich, I did not offer much my first few times when I was brought to the table. I was more learning. I had some critical thinking than I did. I was comfortable asking questions. But those experiences really started to be pivotal into where I was going because I knew I was curious. I'm a continual learner and I wanted stretch assignments. And so that's how I've really has been the backbone of my career. I've been strategic and methodical about it. I knew I wanted to get to a CEO spot. And so I was really methodical about the lessons that I wanted to learn and the background that I wanted to have in my career. And I wouldn't do anything differently with the moves that I made because it all built this foundation for the way I lead, the critical thinking that I have, and the experiences have really molded how I think.
So what has been really important or probably most relevant to you now as you kind of think about where you are, where the credit union is, some of the challenges you're facing? What from your background has maybe best prepared you for that?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't know if there's one given thing. It's a combination of the education, the experiences. I think lessons learned is having being very inclusive with who's at the table. My style today is I want people at the table and I want a diverse group of thinking because it gets us to such a better place, has been key. I like using the data to take us to where we're going because there is unlimited dollars that you're going to spend on something. You have to be pretty surgical with how you put your path forward. When I use a lot of that today, but truly it's having a good group of people around the table. We have a group of chiefs here at the credit union and throughout the credit union that we bring in. I shared my earlier experience with you. I had a sponsor that put me at the table. I am now the sponsor of our 400 or so employees that let's bring different people to the table. Let's see how they think, what questions they have. They're going to bring some background to it, and it absolutely brings us to a better place.
So, did you find being a woman to be either an asset or something that was
Yeah,
held against you or made it more difficult along the way?
I absolutely believe it was an asset, but you're asking a female that question too. But I do love the discussion around having a diverse group of people around the table. And that
Mhm.
diverse group comes in many different forms. My form, absolutely being a woman in the banking industry, was an asset because it brought different thinking. And I think it's really valuable to have around the table. Have I found over my career, I was the only woman at the table? Absolutely. But at the same time, um, I think brought enough value that people saw that. And then I also brought other women with me and got them around the table. So at the end of the year, I wasn't the only female around the table. There were a few of us because we need to do that for each other. And I think it's a great way just to show the value that we can create for an organization together.
So your latest expansion, particularly going nationwide, and having to make this, I don't know if you would consider it a pivot, but certainly a big investment in your digital channel. What's the hard part of that for you? What has been the challenging part, either from a resource standpoint or what even just like new thinking, right? If you kind of look at other organizations that are maybe that one level down from where, Orange County is, and they're kind of aspiring to do that. What are the things that they should be thinking about? What's the important part, I guess?
Right. Well, it's really important to think, 3 and 5 years out. I believe is important. What is the economic environment going to be in 3 to 5 years? What are you seeing across the financial industry in 3 to 5 years? How are your consumers and businesses going to be doing business, not only today, but tomorrow? So putting that futuristic imprint on your strategy is really important. And trust me, Orange County's credit union, we have a ways to go in our digital journey. So when you think about it, it is absolutely a marathon, and we're continuing to do iterations as we move along this path. So by no means are we there, but we have a very good roadmap and a vision towards where we're going and to what we think we're going to need in those 3 to 5 years.
So with most of your growth still coming from your local footprint in Southern
Yeah.
California, what's the really important either trends or factors that you're trying to take advantage of or intercept? I know post COVID, just all of California has gone through like a very shock from a population standpoint, maybe. What are some of those things that you're looking at that you're trying to make sure you're there to address?
Right. Well, you've made me very happy because you give me an opportunity to talk about our branch associates who are absolutely amazing. So we have 10 branch locations today, and they're spectacular. They provide exceptional service. And beyond that, going back to how we started that one word, they're curious with our members, their families, and how we help them through their milestones, financial milestones that they're having in their life. Being highly engaged in the community is so important. And those branch managers and branch associates do that. They're in the community, they're working events, they're doing workshops. And then we've taken our workshops and we'll do them in person. And we also do them online. So they're accessible for both in person and online, that can cater to diverse lifestyles, ensuring that inclusivity for all. Plus, our, coupled hand in hand is the branch personal experience along with technology to be able to service them. So we're harmonizing the education, the accessibility, state of the art technology. And when all of these things come together, I think it just puts us in a winning position. And we have great people out there delivering our mission, our vision every single day to the community.
So what part of this, as you kind of look forward, what part are maybe you most excited about? What's the part that you really want to sink your teeth into, that kind of really get you going?
Yeah. I naturally lean towards futuristic thinking. So I really like to play 3 and 5 years out. And I think it's really fun to do. I serve on a number of boards and speak at nationwide conferences. One of the ones that I've committed to for the last, I don't know, 6 or so years it's called Branch of the Future. And for the last 6 years, it's every December. It's in Austin. I inevitably end up on a panel or I'm on the main stage, and they want to know, when is cash going away? And, we've been saying this for a while. When is cash going away? When are branches going away? I think it's great dialogue to have, and it's fun to think about the future and where we're going to be in 5 years. And then even beyond that 5 years, it's just great dialogue to have.
Well, Kathy, this is great. I mean, it sounds like you're at a really interesting kind of inflection point in what's almost a century history of the credit union. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. Kathy, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. Thank you, Rich.